Hello, race fans, and welcome back to the Ohio Dirt Track Podcast. We are rapidly approaching 30 episodes here. Jacob, I feel like we've been doing this thing for about 2 years, but it's only been about 4 months, something like that.
Right. I mean, time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
It is. We've got to talk to a lot of cool people over the summer and talk about a lot of very cool things. So we didn't do this, but my name is Clint.
And I'm Jacob.
And on the show this week, we've got a couple of guests that we're going to introduce to you. But first, I want to make sure that we mention our sponsor with St. Pete District Studio. Robin is doing the recording for us, as always. If you are interested in getting the recording done for commercial purposes, recording music, make sure you reach out to robinrecorder@gmail.com and let them know what you need. They'll do a great job for you, and they've always done a great job for us. And they do a great job for me. I'm working on recording an album right now, and we're partnering with that. So thanks to St. Pete District Studios. All right, having said that, if you didn't get a chance to listen to last week's episode, we had the opportunity to talk with Ross Weiss and Justin Fiedler from Open Red. Make sure you go back and check out that episode. It was very cool to talk to podcasters talking to podcasters. So this week, Jacob, we got a couple of we got a local sprint car driver on, and then a lot of information that we're going to throw at the listeners. You want to set that up for us really quick?
Right. So our first guest today, or I guess not our first guest as they're on at the same time right now, but the first guest I will introduce is coming off of his rookie 305 season at Attica and Fremont, and probably a couple races at Waynesfield. So first off, we have Chris Verda on the line. Chris, how are you doing today?
Good, Jacob. How are you guys doing?
We're living the dream. So, Chris, how did your season go, or your rookie season?
I'd say overall pretty good. We got a couple top tens, couple pretty good qualifying runs, and just overall pretty good season. We kind of exceeded expectations maybe, but yeah, I think we had a good year. If I could hit less stuff next year, I'd be happier, but that's kind of part of it. So,
Less stuff or less other cars?
I think I only maybe hit 2 other cars. 3. One was on purpose, though, so give somebody a little love tap under yellow. But, yeah, I don't think I hit very many cars this year. A lot of it was pretty much driver error. But
so this was your rookie season at 305. Before this year, did you get to turn any laps prior to that, or did you have any other experience with go-karts or other quarter midgets, anything like that?
No, I didn't race anything before this. The only thing I've drove is a street car, and I played a lot of iRacing, which, you know, it's as close as it's going to get to being a sprint car, but it's not real racing. So until you're in the seat, you know, that was my first experience.
Our second guest that we'll introduce today is J.D. Smith. So J.D. has come up with this big, massive spreadsheet. And what he does is he takes every Ohio 410 sprint car race and he lists the results, the top 10. And what he does is he assigns a certain amount of points to a position, but I don't know all the specifics. So we'll add in J.D. here. J.D., how are you today?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
So what was your inspiration for doing all of this?
Well, when I really started getting into sprint car racing, I noticed that a lot of the Ohio statistics weren't really kept up very well. And I was just more interested in doing the stuff for myself, but I figured out that there's probably also a lot of other people who would be interested in it too, so I started posting it on Pitgate at the end of the year just so some other people could actually get to see and appreciate the work.
So you went through and you tracked every driver that was finished in a top 10 race in a 410 sprint car in Ohio, correct?
Yeah, so anyone who finished in the top 10 scored points. I actually have like the full feature finishes, including B main drivers and everything for on here. But only the top 10 would score points. If you're first, you got 10. If you're 10th, you got 1. So it's just 1 point increments all the way down. And that way, it kind of keeps people from, if you just ran 2 shows every week, you gained a lot of points because you finished 25th or something, and tries to kind of bring out the cream of the crop throughout the events in the year.
Is it something that you started at the very beginning of the season, or did you have to go back and collect data? At what point did you start this during the 2019?
I usually go ahead and try to start it as I go along, but depending on what's going on throughout the year, I kind of fall off. And actually, this year, I used to just manually add all the data. I actually came up with a system on the spreadsheet to where all I'd have to do is type in the number of first place, second place, third place finishes, etc., and it would just add up the points for me, which makes it a lot easier because then it takes out a lot of user error as well. So I actually restarted all this earlier this week on the driver points and did every single one of the 81 events.
We were supposed to have one more race this weekend at Atomic, but with that race being canceled, that made everything official.
Yep, that made everything official. It just kind of rushed things a little bit, but I mean, it all works out. So we ended up having, I think, as we said, 81 races this year. So and a lot of spread out shows and everything. And after all the cancellations early on in the season, it turned out to be a pretty good year after June rolled by.
We're going to get into this, kind of talk about some specific names, specific drivers, and where they fall into this top 25. But, I mean, just looking through this list is fascinating because you've got drivers that ran the entire All-Star circuit. You got outlaw drivers that ran the entire outlaw circuit. And then you have drivers that didn't run, that weren't full-on members of either circuit that are on here. And it's kind of interesting to see where they all fall based on their finishes, their top 10 finishes alone.
And that was kind of my idea behind the top 10s, is because I wanted someone, even if they don't run regularly in Ohio, if they're dominant every time they come through, then they should be on this list. So, for instance, when we kick it off, the first guy in 25th spot is a Woo driver. So,
I guess that kind of leads us right into the top 25. So, just to explain what we'll be doing, we're going to start with the 25th position and work our way up to number 1. We won't do all 154 drivers that scored a top 10 because that would just flat out suck. So, but I have some talking points, some notable stats that I kind of want to point out, and I'm sure Clint, Chris, JD have some as well. So we'll just kind of jump into it.
Yeah, let's start right at number 25 there, and then just kind of work our way through it.
All right. So number 25, we have I believe it's the only World of Outlaw driver in the top 25. We have Logan Schuchart at number 25. So Logan only made 6 starts in Ohio all year. They were all Eldora starts with the Outlaws. But what got him into the top 25 was that his worst finish of the year in Ohio was a 4th place. Other than that, he had a win, 2 seconds, and a couple thirds. That includes his just magnificent run at the King's Royal this year.
Yeah, Logan had a fantastic year this year at Eldora, and he was by far the most dominant of the Outlaw drivers, and that includes over Don. So that's pretty impressive to be better than Donnie at Eldora.
So I think it might be Logan might get another big win at Eldora next year. Maybe the granddaddy. I don't know. So moving on, number 24, we have Brock Zierfoss, the all-star rookie. I think he was a rookie. But Brock ended up having a big win later on in the season, the last night at Attica Raceway Park, he picked up the Brad Doty Classic.
Yeah, that's always a big race to win there. And he also garnered 3 fourth-place finishes and 5 top 5s throughout the year. He had a fairly good year with his Premier Motorsports in his first year on the tour, and I'm hearing that he's back in the Freezy next year on the All-Stars, which would be a welcome addition to stay on to the tour for next year.
So I think Brock definitely made some nice strides going from racing a lot in Pennsylvania to the All-Stars, getting adapted to all those different tracks.
Yeah, I think he spent the last couple of years, teeing up for that, and felt like he had a really good showing throughout the year, 2019, all in all.
So, I was actually just going to mention Zierfoss picked up that win at the Brad Doty Classic, but earlier in the year at Attica, probably should have picked up a win, spun out leading, and I don't remember if he collected another car and got a flat tire, had to go to work area, but went tail. Don't remember how he finished up that race, but did spin out leading.
Yeah, Brock Zierfoss coming in at number 24. 23, we have the Wayne County local, and he also made some starts in the number 28 machine at Attica, but we have Danny Mumaw at 23. He picked up a couple wins this year, as well as a few other top 5s and top 10s. Finished with 54 points. So Danny Mumaw, who is always strong at Wayne County, coming in at number 23.
Yep, the Action Wagon made a few appearances at Mansfield and Attica this year. It's kind of interesting to see Mumaw branch out a little bit, because typically in the past he's only ran Wayne County only, and then started running Mansfield a little bit when they opened up. But it was interesting to see him over at Attica a few times this year and see how he stacked up over there.
All right. And then number 22, we have Stuart Brubaker, who was the defending Attica Raceway Park champion. Stuart kind of struggled a little bit this year. He was one of like 3 or 4 people to win a race at Fremont Speedway, though. He kind of broke up Buddy and Cap's dominance a little bit in the middle of the season. But, and Brubaker ended up racing a little bit in Jay Kaiser's 23 at the end of the year, I think, as well.
Yeah, Stu had a rough year this year after finishing 7th in the points, actually, last year. He had 19 top 10s and 9 top 5s last year. This year he finished up with 14 top 10s and 2 top 5s. So a little bit of a drop-off after his championship year last year. But I'd look for that 35 car to come back strong again next year on the local Attica Fremont scene.
I think Stuart would tell you if he asked that this was the least lucky year maybe anybody has ever put together. It seemed like if something happened on the racetrack, Stuart somehow was collected in it, and that sucks to see anybody go through, especially a good competitor like Stuart. But his luck, hopefully, will turn around. He'll come out strong next year.
All right. And then number 21 coming in with 55 points, we have Caleb Griffith, who actually came out of like a pseudo-retirement, sort of. He joined a team that was doing its first year, actually, with Jeff Ward Motorsports. So he actually picked up a win, and he had quite a few solid runs, including that win at Attica, and he was going to do a heck of a battle with, I believe, Tim Schaefer at the first night of the Jim Ford Classic.
Yeah, Caleb did very well in that Pretty Free W for its first year out there. I think it actually turned quite a few heads. I mean, I don't really think anyone gave them much of a shot to do anything this year, and they came out and surprised some people, I believe.
All right. And then number 20, we have Trey Jacobs, who actually got that win monkey off of his back. He ended up picking up a win at Wayne County this year. I believe he finished second in points to his father at Wayne County as well. But Trey kind of got his bearings underneath him.
Trey is a solid competitor. Just about anywhere he went this year, he got turned over early at Fremont. I think that was just before Wayne County opened, so you kind of hate to see